Hey everyone, welcome to the Indie Game Devlog number 6. In this video I'm going to be talking about the combat system and the game environment. This is the new game environment, and in it we have a lot to discuss. So I decided to change, well, not really change, I came up with the way the Guardian would kind of look and feel. So if you see in the right hand, the Guardian has this kind of orb-looking hand with particles coming through the center, which feels really great to move in VR. And they've also got this kind of magical, mystical bow with this nice opaque style shader. And it really adds to the feeling of being this magical or mysterious guardian looking over and protecting Zara. And when you shoot the bow, it has the nice particle effects. And now Zara has weapon trails. What you saw just then is actually the special attack. We'll get into that a bit later, but you can see as time slows down. So if you look at the background objects and Zara herself and the particles, time slows down when she does that jump ability. And yeah, in terms of the environment, there's a massive story reason for why the environment's kind of broken and things are floating around, but that's for another video. What you'll see now is the combat section. So I worked hard on Zara's combat. So as you can see, the enemies kind of just walk towards her and they pathfind around. The main focus here is how it feels for the player to actually hit the enemies and defeat them. So as you'll see now, there's the weapon trail when you hit them. The enemies have a kind of knockback and also an animation indicating that they've been damaged. The player can also shoot them and trigger that hit back effect where the enemy stops moving. And what you're going to see now is the special attack. So Zara can actually launch enemies into the air. Once they're launched, they'll slow down, and that gives the player time to shoot them, as you'll see now. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to spam this 24/7. It would be a power-up or like on a cooldown timer. It's an ability of Zara's and the Guardians. But I really like this mechanic because it makes you work together. So, of course, if you have only just clicked on this video, you control both the player and Zara. So you're in control of Zara as a third-person character, and you're also in control of the Guardian. And I like this dynamic here where you can launch enemies in the air, it goes slow motion because it combines both of their abilities. And I want to have more interactions like this in the game. So I'm working really hard to make the combat system feel amazing and to be quite fun. And I think what I've developed here is kind of the first steps towards that. So I really wanted to achieve this unique kind of system here where the VR player and Zara interact together. And the goal is, when you defeat the enemies or you solve the puzzle in the room, the doors open and you can go to the next part of this kind of broken and destroyed castle area, which I will get into probably in another video once I've developed a bit more of the castle. For the past 2 weeks, a majority of my time has been taken up with building the environment, making materials and the visual effects, so the particles, and also making the combat system. One of the big decisions I've decided to make is with the environments. When I look at games with smaller teams, such as Portal or games like Superhot, a lot of these games have environments where it's a very set location. So Portal is the reference that I really want to use. If you look at Portal, it's set inside of the facility, and there's GLaDOS, there's the main character, and your portal gun, and all the puzzles. And each test chamber is a different part of the laboratory. So they can use different modular props, different wall colors, and all this different lighting in one location with similar architecture to make an entire game world. And I really like this, especially from Portal 1, as a solo developer, as it helps a lot with the scope of the project. One of the biggest problems when I started this project was that I really wanted to make a semi-open world. And that was simply just out of scope for this particular project with the time I want, and the fact that I am not hiring anyone or contracting for the environment. So I had a shift in thinking, and I thought, why don't I have my own interior style environments, just like they did with Portal, in my own style, which is this kind of castle that you're looking at. You've only seen one section. What if I can make the entire game set in this place and make it really interesting with different lighting, modular environment props, different set pieces, different parts of the castle? I haven't explained the story yet. There's quite a bit of story with the castle and actually restoring the castle, restoring pieces of it back together and getting to the core and fixing the corruption. But one of the best things that's come from this idea of, okay, let's take Portal as inspiration. Can I build an interesting game around one single environment? That mindset is really going to help me, I think. And I really like this approach because the game feels like I can actually do it. And I was a bit worried before. I was worried about the scope. I thought it was stupid of me to pick the previous scope, like the out. Basically what I was going to try and do is have exterior environments and interior environments, and as you go through the quest, you go through the forests and the towns and ruined castles and all this great stuff, but simply just not achievable, especially for this game, and for the time I want to do it and just by myself. So I'm happy with the scope now, really happy with the decision to take inspiration from Portal. And if you're having any similar worries or struggles like me, take some inspiration from smaller teams. It's really common to just take inspiration from bigger AAA games because that's what a lot of us play, and it's what I played growing up. But a lot of the time I have to take a step back and go, well, I'm just one person. What's realistic for me? What's realistic for somebody who has the ability to use a marketplace or an asset store and can develop some of the assets by themselves, but also have to develop an entire game? So obviously, let's look at smaller teams and see what they achieved. And I really like the Portal example. I know they had funding from Valve, but if you look at Portal 1, it's a really smart use of a modular kit for the environments, and it feels very achievable as a independent developer. Those are my kind of thoughts. I'd love to know your thoughts on that part of the game development process in terms of making the environments. It's given me a lot of comfort having this mindset, and I feel like I can make the game now. It's not as overwhelming. Welcome to the Trello board. If you've watched a few of my videos before, you've probably seen that I use Trello for my project management, and it hasn't been this clean in the past. Actually, it was looking a lot more like this. So if you see in the background, I have an entire list of cards of tasks, and I have over 128 hours of tasks in this list. It's really messy, it's hard to focus, there's just so many colors, a lot of words, there's way too much happening, and this was actually stressing me out. I would sit down to work, I would open Trello, and I wouldn't know exactly what I was working on. It was really unclear as to what I had to achieve that week, so I had deliverables for, say, the YouTube video, or for the playtesting sessions. So if we have a look at what I have here, I've condensed it down a lot, I've archived stuff, and I've kept it pretty neat. So what I have is the current sprint, which are all these cards here. So if you're not familiar with Trello, these are cards, and each card can have a description, subtasks, a due date, the people working on it. And if you have a plugin called Scrum for Trello, you can actually assign how long you think the task will go for and how many hours it actually took you in terms of your consumed points. And this is a really great way to track how you're going week to week, and you can figure out what areas you have troubles in with time management, whether you underestimate tasks. And nowadays I'm getting pretty good at not underestimating tasks, whereas in the past I would say, oh, this will take 3 hours, and it actually took 12 hours. But anyway, the way I'm working is very much so agile development. So every week I will have a set amount of tasks and that will produce an outcome. In this case, the YouTube video and something that I'm quite proud of at the end of each week and that's playable. Sometimes it'll be 2 weeks, but optimally, I would like my sprints to be 1 week. So throughout the week, at the start of the week, I figure out what I'm doing. And as the week goes on, I'm actually writing down what I'm going to try and achieve for next week for sprint 2. And this is the way I'm working. So I'll get through a week, and during that week, I'm also figuring out what is important for the game for next week, things that I need to achieve. And if you have a look, we have things like the Zara Guardian platforming, and I've written out some of the subtasks, the estimated hours, and I've put a picture because it's always nice to have a picture. And then I have things that I've come up with whilst I'm developing the combat system, such as the hit particle effects, the enemies actually attacking Zara, and of course the YouTube video for next week. And if we have a look at this week, my focus was on level design, art, and programming. So I needed to get the Guardian combat with the with Zara launching the enemies into the air and the Guardian shooting them. I also needed the enemies to be able to run at Zara, they needed to spawn, so we needed a portal system and an enemy spawning system. And then of course I polished up the arrow because I felt like it was quite important to have the arrow and the bow polished for this sprint. So if you see with this workflow, it's a lot more manageable than this. At the end of this week, I'm going to archive all the cards. So I'll just press this button here, and then I'm going to move them in to their right places. And it's a really nice way for me to work on this project. It was really stressful before, I had way too many things on the screen at once. It was pure clutter, and I feel a lot better working this way. And I guess I just wanted to show you this in case you're struggling with your project, you feel a bit unmotivated, you're not clear on the goals of the project. Sometimes a method like this can really help. So yeah, I just have my weekly work in here, and as the week goes on, I put my tasks for next week in here, and I just keep on working through. And it's important to reflect on the tasks and make sure that they're actually important. So sometimes you'll have tasks that you'll write up and you'll think about it the next day and go, oh, that's not actually important. I don't need to do this. There's something way more urgent. So yeah, hope you like this look at the Trello board, and I hope you got something useful from it. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you got something valuable from it. This week, I'll also be uploading the Game a Month video. I'm working with 2 other people, so it'll be quite fun to have a team. There's a character artist, Raymond Cripps, and the musician Soundzu. I always mix up that name. Anyway, it's going to be really great to work with them, and I'm excited to bring the video to you. So look forward to that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next video.